Today, how can you use LSD for therapy? So basically what I want to do today is to connect my own experiences with LSD and the experiences that helped me to grow as a person, connecting to how LSD and research is currently used for therapeutic use of LSD. LSD is a drug that enhances the feelings of empathy and connectedness. LSD is described as a psychedelic or mind manifesting drug because of how it changes perception, mood, and thought. When taken in high doses, you can hallucinate from it, you can lose the sense of time and space. So for an example, I took it together with a friend of mine in the forest, and at one point we were walking on a path, and then my friend was all of a sudden, "Hey, look, we are walking, but we're not actually moving." And once he said that, I noticed it. Like we were walking on a pathway, but the pathway seemed to get longer and longer. And although of course, I was moving myself, it is just that you're sort of hallucinating that something else is happening. And in addition, it provides visual hallucinations as well. That's basically just what I said. The use of LSD outside of a therapeutic sense can be done, but what I would always say to a starter, for example, is like don't take too much because it can be quite overwhelming, and it's definitely a different drug than outside of the psychedelic space. If you do start to use it, don't just take away a whole platter. Just first start small, start on a low microdose or something, and then you can see how it feels. And then the more experience you will get with it, the nicer it is. Due to the fact that psychedelic drugs can affect the function and structure of the brain and promote neuron growth, you have all kinds of neurons communicating with each other. And on LSD, it affects the brain, but it seems to interact with multiple receptors and chemicals, and this influences what is happening in your brain. So let's say that normally your brain is working on 100%. LSD can actually reconnect certain neurons with each other, and this can heavily influence and be used for therapy. LSD has been researched for over 40 years now, but the primal focus on treating is for depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, drug dependency, and reducing anxiety in patients. For example, the role of LSD is improving mental health, and that is done by weakening or the dissolution of the ego. So for myself, for example, when I was younger, I had a bigger ego than I have now. Some people also call that, for example, the ego death. But LSD really helps you to step away from your ego. And to give an example of that, your ego, let's say that you have a good friend of yours, and you're fighting with each other, and then your ego is sort of saying like, hey, it should be going this way because I invested time in this, I invested energy, love, whatever it might be. But for a healthy relationship, it could be that you grow away from each other. It could be that you're just changing and that you're not so good with each other anymore. And your ego is mostly triggered by this. And with LSD, you are able to step away from that. For therapeutic treatment, it is advised, of course, to have someone there in a psychologist's office or someone that has medical experience to provide guidance and reassure the patient's experience that the effect of the drugs give. Although the patient's consciousness is dramatically altered, they still have a clear memory of their experience. While LSD does not seem to pose a risk for dependency, and no overdose for deaths that have been reported. Some people do experience anxiety and confusion. And I can sort of understand this because, like, LSD gives you a broader picture of what's happening around you in the world. And this can definitely be confronting. If you have a certain view about the world and all of a sudden you see that it's actually different than that, then that definitely might need some work for you to accept that, that things are different than the way that you saw it. And that's definitely also what they say in the last line, like people can have powerfully confronting experiences under the influence of LSD, which is why they advise it to do it in a controlled environment where the participant is informed, supported, and monitored. Um, yeah, that's basically also why, if you are going to use it and you have certain mental problems, then please make sure that you inform yourself well about. Don't just use it because, like, hey, there's a video on YouTube that says that you can do it. Inform yourself well. Be wise with how you use it. I have a different video about how to microdose LSD, and just be honest with yourself. Like, LSD is a serious drug because it will influence you for 10 to 12 hours. And it's not so easy to just stop that. Like, for example, with truffles or with mushrooms, you can just eat something and then it will most likely calm down and it will stop. And LSD will just continue for 10 to 12 hours. So that's definitely something to take into account. So yeah, this is also the reason why I make these videos. I want to inform people. I'm always happy with open discussions. Like, there are videos about alcohol on YouTube. It's a very common thing for all of us. Some people are scared of drugs, but yes, there is a fun part in this. But most of the or but a lot of drugs, like for example ketamine and ecstasy as well, they actually have therapeutic uses as well. I will make another video about those two other drugs, but for now this was basically my video about LSD and the therapeutic use of that. So I hope you liked the video. Please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. That would help me out a great deal. And then there is nothing else for me to say than big hug, much love, and then I see you in the next one. Ciao, ciao.